Good afternoon and welcome to Math. Today we will be looking at patterning. Yay! Alright guys, so today we're going to look at continuing increasing patterns. Increasing means that they're getting bigger. So for this question, it's kind of got three parts. You can see the first two parts right now. The first part shows you a diagram that is growing. It's a pattern that's growing. And your job is to fill in the next part of the growing pattern. So the easiest way to do this is by keeping track of how much it's increasing by on a chart. And this is actually the second part of the question, so it's handy because it helps you do the first part of the question. Now, if I'm just going to back the camera up for a second so you can see this. If this isn't something you've tried before, it's super handy. I've put my paper in one of these binder sleeves. It's just like a plastic sleeve that you can get at Staples or the dollar store. And then what we can do is we can use a whiteboard marker on it and erase it without messing up our actual paper. So you can, it's actually really quite handy. So I have my handy dandy whiteboard marker here. And so what I can do is I can look at this and I have to figure out what part of this already existed before. So maybe I see it as being this square here. Maybe that's the one that was already here, and this is what it's increased by. But not everybody sees it that way. Some people see a different one. So you could just take your handy dandy Kleenex or paper towel and wipe it off, and you're back to square one. No harm, no foul. This is a great tool. So anyway, you could be the person that sees it here, or you could be the person that sees it being this one. It really doesn't matter which one you see it as long as you're counting how many it's increased by. So just for the sake of argument, I'm going to use this one here. So this was already here from the last time. It matches. Well, let's do this just so you can see it actually matches. Okay, same thing. So this time in the next frame, it's increased by 1, 2, 3. So in picture 1, I had the number of squares as 1 square. That's over here. And it didn't increase yet. So I'm just going to leave that as a 0. There's no increase yet. In picture 2 here, there are how many squares? Number of squares. Total 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 squares now. And how many did it increase by? Well, we already had the 1, so it's increased by 1, 2, 3. In our next one, we're going to try to figure out that these 4 here were already there. So that matches there. These are the same 4 as here. So in picture 3, how many squares are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are now 9 squares. And how many did it increase by? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's increased by 5. Okay, now I'm just going to go back and do something really quick. I'm actually going to change the 0 to a 1. And the reason I'm going to do that is because if you think about it, before the pattern starts, you might be at 0. Like there's nothing there. And then the first part, it's increased by 1 because now there's 1 there. So that's the way I'm going to look at this right now. You can also just leave that part blank because it hasn't increased yet. But for the sake of this pattern, I think it's going to be easier for you to think of it as a 1. So in any case, I'm going to put a 1 there because it's increased from nothing to 1. Okay, so now the next part of this is draw our next frame. So it really depends on what kind of learner you are. I myself am a visual learner. It helps me to see things. That's why I've been coloring in the things that already existed, because it's easiest for me to think of things in those terms. So if I continue on that way, I can see that each time the pattern increased, it increased by a row above and a row down the side. It increased by a row above and a row down the side. So what I need to do to continue this pattern is to draw this shape here that already existed last time and then add on a row above and a row down the side. Now I can check this by looking at my pattern down here. So it's actually gone up by odd numbers, 1, 3, 5. So our next frame should have an increase of 7 blocks if the pattern is correct. Okay, so let's see if we're right. I'm going to hypothetically put a 7 in there because I think that the pattern is increasing by 2 every time, but we shall see. My cat Bonesy is helping us out. I apologize. She wants to be a little star. Alright, so like you guys can't see this right now, but she's actually sitting on our math page. There she is. Alright, no, you're not playing with that, Bonesy. Okay, sorry about that little detour. Yes, you're a very smart math kitty. Is math cool? No comment from the peanut gallery. Okay, so in order to finish this pattern, I am going to fill in my square here. Just like I said, I'm going to draw it the way I did last time. Sorry, this is a little awkward because I'm hitting the legs of my camera stand. So I'm just going to pull back a bit so you can see. Okay, so I have the same 9 squares that I had last time. So now I'm going to add a row above. 1, 2, 3, and a row to the side. 1, 2, 3, and we have to do the corner one. So let's see how much it actually increased by. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And look, our estimation was right because we followed our pattern rule. So now we have to see how many is actually going to be showing now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So now in picture 4, there are 16 as the number of squares, and it's increased by 7. So now we've got our chart figured out, we can go on and answer our very last question. Just 1 second, I'm going to fix the page. So our last question there is, what is the patterning rule? Well, our patterning rule is that the pattern increases by 2 every time. And I know this because it's counting by odd numbers. So we're counting by 2s. And so that's how I know what the pattern rule is. The pattern increases, and you must have the word increases or decreases in your answer. Increases means the pattern's getting bigger. Decreases means the pattern is getting smaller. So it's increases by 2 each time. And that's it. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. So if there was another frame, then it would increase by 7 plus 2 is 9. And we could go on forever that way. Let's note though, have a super Mother's Day and a great sunny Sunday.